All right, it is currently 2:23 p.m. Documentation with simultaneity to pressing record right now. Amplification of loud booming inside of the apartment. This is criminal monitoring on the communication device, and it's occurring under the fake sun. This is speaking to surveillance that the people of the state, who include AVANATH Capital Management, not only is the company going to be prosecuted, but the demon-possessed gang stalkers at the apartment complex are being prosecuted. They're monitoring with the people of the state that are pacing on Vine Avenue, living on Vine Avenue, coming onto the property like I documented. There's a demon that's stalking in the sky space by a commercial plane. That's the airport, monitoring with the people in traffic, monitoring with the elderly. All right. This is, again, unit number 55. This is crossing path, the same demon monitoring with the Ontario police on an ongoing basis. She's going to prison, so is everybody else. In units 33 through 64, while the fake sun's over Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens, that's P.O.C. All right? I'm doing so with impunity because the sex offender is monitoring my genitalia, knows exactly what it is that I'm, while she's intentionally crossing path with the airport, under the fake sun and engineered light, and doing so as a matter of, okay? The entity is doing so while this light source, which I documented this morning, yesterday morning at 7:51 in the morning, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. This is 7 hours over the same building. As I documented yesterday after 3:30 p.m., you saw the fake sun over this same building in the same position, and the demon keeping her back to me, the coward that is losing custody of her children. License plate 9CZC059, for example, right here. This is AVANATH Capital Management, gang stalking residents and gang stalking employees. They're all going to prison while you're subject to what is criminal interference with quiet enjoyment, and they're doing so on behalf of the city of Ontario. This is the corrupt local government that uses the airport as a means of terrorism in the city. Those are gang stalkers that have pilot licenses. That is the use of an entire airport for gang stalking one person. That is the expenditure of thousands of dollars each time a plane is hovering over Woodside Senior Apartments, which is nowhere near Terminal 2 or Terminal 4. There's no planes taking off. There's no plane that is hovering over this apartment complex. And there's no plane that will be flying over the fake sun, and it's anything other than gang stalking. That's the bottom line. This is an entity that is monitoring while I am publishing evidence about Judge Barry L. Plotkin, who is a gang stalker as well, a demon that's wearing a robe associated with the corrupt San Bernardino Superior Court, doing so while the demons who are interested, they're one entity. And that's why you have a demon that's chiefly a means of amplified audible activity, engaging in what is gang stalking while the entity is maintaining amplified noise inside of the apartment, which AVANATH Capital Management is going to be prosecuted for. All right, there's no sun that would be, as the documentation shows, stationary over Alvarado Gardens, because that's not the sun that will be stationary like you see here over the apartments at Woodside Senior Apartments, where Paul Leon is being exposed for being a domestic terrorist leader, while both the police, as I've documented on an ongoing basis, and the airport that is flying over while the fake sun is hovering over the roof, you're witnessing what is gang stalking in the city of Ontario and California, speaking to what the whole state of California is engaging in, because there was no sun, by the way, that ever arrived over or was present in the sky space over any other location in the city of Ontario, let alone in any other city in the state or anywhere else in the country, based on this ass entity that I'm documenting, okay? Those that are monitoring inside of these units, crossing path, this is pacing. They also do so while the fake sun sits here setting and their shadows move across this patio door while they're monitoring my genitalia, monitoring what I'm doing on the devices, monitoring what it is that I'm doing with regard to referencing them. And they do so with the elderly unemployed. That's in unit number 55, license 5WUB715. Gang stalking, that is the burgundy vehicle. You saw that demon driving under this fake sun at 1 in the afternoon, and engineer light moved across that brick wall. She is a demon, she is gang stalking, and she's going to prison. She's specifically going to a mental ward. Everybody else is going to federal prison. Walking your dog is gang stalking, flying the plane over is gang stalking, riding your bike is gang stalking, and they're also doing so in violation of the Violence Against Women Act. They are aided by the population that is living in relevant position, driving in relevant position, amplifying all manner of noise inside of the apartment, such as the elderly creating earthquake-like conduct inside of the unit. Doing so with simultaneity to my operation of my device is also documentation of impunity upon federal stalking under Title 18. It is currently, again, 2:27 p.m. This is the documentation of what is a massive sex offense that males and females commit openly right in front of your face. It's called conspicuous stalking, and it's impunity while the state government is being exposed for domestic terrorism in the U.S. because these are all state actors. None of them are private citizens. Neither is this a private residential complex, and that's why you have planes and helicopters hovering over a senior citizen complex 24 hours a day, by the way, and they're doing so with the demons who are over 55. They don't work, nor do they sleep. All right, they're monitoring me and monitoring my genitalia, monitoring the evidence that's going to be presented against them in the state of California, and they do so within a legally relevant amount of impunity and malice. And this is all evidence against Tracy Banks. Everybody that is a relative of Tracy Banks, which would be a relative of mine, they are engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, targeting me as a relative. The high malice where the government has targeted me based upon the solicitation of Tracy Banks presenting a relative that Eric Spencer is targeting with the state of California. They're all being documented while the specific environment is noting what is the criminal conduct that the entity is engaging in. All right, the entity is doing so again. I've captured the sunrise here at 718. I captured the light source over this building this morning again. And also you're going to juxtapose that with what is no sunlight that's going to be touching the door. No sunlight is going to be piercing through the peephole like I just took a picture of. There is no sunlight that's going to be framing the inside, disappearing out of nowhere while they're walking their dog, gang stalking you, flying planes over, gang stalking you, riding their bike by you, gang stalking in your face. That level of impunity is met with federal prison. And everybody in units 3360 through 64 who you just saw engaging in group stalking right now, while one from the entity is gang stalking, the entire entity is gang stalking, and they're doing so on a 24-hour basis. And I want to be clear, it's relevant to what Barry L. Plotkin, his criminal conduct, as I'm documenting on the website. This is the POC.wordpress.com. This is the state actor, and he engaged in what is theft of my property through the same entity in Ontario, California. After that corrupt entity, gang stalking right now and gang stalking in 2019, when this same exact entity stole my vehicle upon monitoring me and exercising fictitious authority under the law. So as I spell this out in order to publish what are the many crimes committed while this entity has been keeping me under surveillance and I've been documenting, which is to enforce my rights, where there is no statute of limitations from any stolen property by the state that's gang stalking you, any acts of kidnapping by the state that is gang stalking you, and the ongoing pattern of conduct that this entire entity is being prosecuted for. All right, it is currently, again, 2:29 p.m. This is capturing engineered light that's appearing on the inside of the apartment, on the floor, okay? Inside. Not only is this impossible light activity, it's not sunlight. It's appearing underneath a covered structure, and it is, again, the coexisting with what is the stationary presence of the fake sun. And you just saw the City of Ontario gang stalking by commercial planes, all right? You have what is the engineered light that appears not only on the floor, but there it is, multiple shadows. All right, that's my arm, multiple arms. Yeah, that's where the demons are gang stalking, and all of them in units 33 through 64 are going to federal prison. They are monitoring evidence. They're going to federal prison for even longer for that. They continuously engage in. That is impunity. That's legally relevant. That's coloring the level of terrorism that they engage in. And those over 55 living at Woodside Senior Apartments in AVANATH Capital Management, a gang stalking landlord in violation of the Violence Against Women Act as well. They are going to be civilly and criminally held responsible. And those in units 33 through 64 are going to prison. And also all 144 units are engaged in domestic terrorism and psychological torture while I'm subject to a sex offense, monitoring me 24 hours a day. And it's also a sex offense while I am always accosted with what is engineered light, because this entity wants to touch all over me in order to keep me under surveillance. That's not sunlight. Nor is the sun over Alvarado Gardens. And that's what the evidence also shows today in 2024. It is currently, again, 2:31 p.m. This is P.O.C.